I think the scariest thing about this clip is how is she talking without her mouth moving? I'm scared. This is some sort of occult, witchcraft, demonic expression here. I feel like this legion is trying to come over me just watching this video.
Yeah. Money make the world go round. I'm trying to get it all right now. Everybody worry about the crown being. Look, homie, I'm the
Well,
man
welcome
right
back
now.
to episode 8 of Wes Reacts. My name's Wes Hone, and the mission that I've been on for the last 15 years is helping people build their business and take their profits and put it into real estate and build actual wealth. This show is my team going through TikTok, finding advice, and then without showing it to me ahead of time, showing it to me here so that I can react to it. And we have had a whole spectrum. We've had some great advice on the show, and we've had some absolutely woeful foo-foo advice. Let's see what today brings.
We are moving into the energy of manifestation, of activation, and moving towards that mission.
Do you have to have Disney music in the background for the foo-foo to work, or is that like an added bonus? I guess we'll find out from this business advisor.
That has been assigned to you since you came to Earth. This is the energy of really dropping into your soul, of dropping into your truth, and moving towards all that is possible.
Justin, are you giving me these because they're in your TikTok? Because are these your actual business advisors? And now you're trying to get some sort of validation from me? Is that what's going on here? Is this the people you consume? This is a godly Christian organization, Justin. Today could very well be your first, second, and third written warning. Now, just to pick up on what this lovely lady says, the energy actually started when you were here on earth. I want to tell you that that is not true. As a redeemed believer and a child of God, my Bible says that before the foundation of the earth, you were made. You were actually created before any of this. And it was God that called you forward on the day that you were born. And he put inside of you a specific skill set. And your job on earth is to find out what he put inside of you so that you can work out what he's got for you and you can step inside of that. And if you can start to walk in the assignment that was divinely decided before you ever took your first breath, that's where your fulfillment will come from as a believer.
You know, you really have to think in your work, are you doing it in a steady state way? You know, and what part of the job do you enjoy? What parts don't you enjoy? And if you think about, you know, over time, are you getting yourself into a position that, you know, it's mostly the good stuff? I don't think there's any job that's, you know, completely all the fun stuff. Some, you know, some personnel things just are necessary, but not going to be the joyful part of work. You know, for me, the political side is important, but if I had to do that over half the time, and I didn't have the piece connected up with innovation and teams of innovators and seeing those things get out in the field, I don't think I'd get re-energized to do the job overall. And, you know, so thinking explicitly about your needs, what renews you, you know, telling your coworkers things they do that are draining your energy.
Well, that's a surefire way to get punched in the face at work. I said earlier, the role of business is for you to have to do everything at the start, but to get yourself out of all of those things to the point where you do more of the stuff you love. That is the game that we can play. You know, as an employee in an organization, especially a large one, you can never do that, right? You are literally held to all of that. But as a business owner, the beauty of this is that you pay the price early, and it's a massive price, and it's a bigger price than we all think. And then over time, you can leverage yourself out of the tasks by attracting more customers and building a team. And then you can get your time back if you want to, you know, and that's an if too. But, you know, when it comes to Bill Gates' innovation and political, I'd much rather he didn't. We've all seen what happens when Bill Gates has too much time on his hands, and none of us want to be injected with that ever again.
One of my very old mentor of mine, Toby Lutke, as I'm sure you know from Shopify.
Yeah, I had him on the show. Someone once described him, if humans could be IP addresses,
Toby would know. That might be the best thing I've heard in a long time. But he said to me, this was probably 10 years ago. He said, Tui, what's important about leadership is if your business is scaling at 100% a year, that means you and your team needs to be scaling their skill set at greater than 100% a year. And so I took that to heart, which is I look very critically across my leadership team to make sure that my team has what it takes to take us to the next level, not rewarding them for getting us to where we came from. So I spend a lot of time having those conversations with folks saying that, like, look, there's probably somebody outside of this organization that might be able to do this job where you can learn from them and scale your own career. It's never easy.
I don't think it's that hard and fast. You have to be more than 100% ahead if you're scaling at 100% in your skill set. Because that doesn't allow for like figuring it out as you go, which the best teams do. Like it's in that pressure environment that your team will have to lean on each other to figure some things out. That's when the best sporting teams come together, right? You know, when they're behind. And so I don't think it has to be that clear that you have to be adding to your skill set faster than you're growing. But of course, we can't escape the fact that you have to add to your skill set, right? So there is an investment that has to be made in skill set, whether that's bringing it in from outside, like you said, or, you know, for us, the way that we do that is we do knowledge transfer. So we actually have downtime where we transfer knowledge to each other in meetings and things like that. Now that's not productive time in the short term, but it's very productive time in the long term. So it does need to be an investment. Interesting dynamic though, when you want to if you want to bring a skill set externally into your business, you will have people in your business that feel highly threatened by that. And so, you know, there's a couple of ways to deal with that. Educate them on why it's important and take them on a journey. But you might have people that kind of kick against the goads with that. And that tells you who's probably not aligned with your core values and who you've probably got to trade out. So I would say to you, make the investment. That's quite hard for some business people to make. Like I'm spending money on bringing in a skill set. I don't get a short-term return. But if you don't, you're going to get left behind. And then your internal team, you have to manage that because it is some level of change. And I would say, having walked that out with hundreds of businesses, you know, if your team is 5, 7, 10 or bigger, you're going to have some people that you realize are not on your team.
I'm really good at a very simple and small amount of things, but because I've doubled down on that thing that I'm not good at English, maths, I'm not good at these things, but I've tripled down on the thing that I'm good at, and that's been enough for me in my career. And Jimmy Carr came on the podcast and he said, listen, we don't need any more people that are shit at physics. We don't need any more D's in physics. If you're getting a D and an E in physics, forget it. Just go and double down on the thing you're good at. And there's a lot of wisdom in that crass statement.
Right, so I think it's a really unfair explanation, actually. Because he's talking about business and doubling down on his skill set, and he's referring back to school where he was failing. And I think, I just don't think that's a fair summary to bring the point home. I would agree, school doesn't really take you on a path to entrepreneurship. Very little at school maps, to being a business owner, right? So, I can't remember the last time that I used Pythagoras theory or parallelograms, right, in my day job. So I get that school doesn't map, but just put school aside for the minute, which he didn't do. Think about business. Most people start their business as a 1 or 2 person company. Well, can you imagine deciding, like when I first started my business coaching, I'm just going to do the business coaching because I'm brilliant at that. I'm just going to do that. Well, who's doing the marketing, the lead gen, the sales, the admin, the follow-up, the financial management, the forecasting, the budget? Who's doing all of that? It doesn't work. It doesn't work, right? You're going to have to be, if you start a business with 1 or 2 people, you're going to have to be broad in your skill set and then quickly hire out of the things you suck at to get back to the things that you do best. Now, I'm not sure what Stephen Bartlett's story was. He's built a phenomenal business and got out of it, so I'll give him credit for that. But he might, if you start a business with 5 mates and you've all got complementary skill sets, you don't do the same thing, but you can work together. Maybe you can afford to be well, I'm just doing mine and I'm just doing mine. And there's enough skill set across the 5 to get it done. That's not how most people start. So, you're sitting there right now and you're like, I'm a plumber, right? And you hear this kind of advice. Well, I'm brilliant with the numbers. Okay, so just double down and do the numbers. Well, no one's doing the plumbing, so you won't be doing numbers for very long, right? That's the problem with this kind of advice. It is not practical and it doesn't map to the real world.
The best piece of advice, I reckon the best piece of advice I was given was from my dad when I was really young. He taught me from a young age that what people think or say about you is none of your business. It's one of the biggest teachings in my work today too, because if you're a good human who has a good heart and good intention, that's all that matters, because people put their own meaning on things, right? And this is something that you can't control. The only person we can control is ourselves and our character. And even if you think about that in the workplace and in life too, it's about staying away from gossip and judgment, right? Because it only creates drama. And that's the fact around what people do, what they say about you. You don't have control of that. The only person you have control of is yourself and your character.
Well, Caroline Kennedy AU, I couldn't agree with you more, actually. I don't know whether you've watched my videos, but you've literally ripped off my entire sentences. Now, if you haven't ripped them off, then great. We are singing from the same song sheet. Here's the reality when it comes to building a business. What other people think of you is none of your business. What other people think of me is none of my business. I just don't care. I've made a covenant. I've made 2 covenants in my life. I made a covenant with Christ when I became a believer, and I've made a covenant with my wife when I got married. They're the only 2 people that get to have a say. Everybody else, I'm not in covenant with them, and I simply don't care. See, and if you take that stance, and if you actually go and build something great, if you go and move the needle on a business, you are going to upset people. And the people you're going to upset first are the ones that are usually closest to you. And they can be the ones that hurt the most, right? But they shouldn't, because the assignment of building a business for the kingdom wasn't given to them. It was given to you, and you're supposed to shoulder that burden. They're not. Now, interestingly, they can be the people that throw most of the fiery darts at you. But remember, what other people think of me is none of my business. What other people think of you is none of your business. Scripture says, woe to you if all men speak well of you. You don't want all people to speak well of you, because now you're going to pander to everybody's opinion. That is not a place of strength that you can build a business from. So I would say to you, for those of you who are worried about the fear of man or comparison, or the words that come from either people close or far that are trying to derail you and get you to think small, you're not accountable to them. You're accountable to the assignment. You're accountable to the Creator. You're accountable to your covenant, and you're accountable to the work that God has put on your life. So what other people think of you is none of your business.
Secret to sales.
People buy from you, hear this, people buy from you when they feel understood, not when they understand you.
What's the best financial advice you'd give to the younger generation watching this?
So, a lot of people watch this video, right? If you can comment below, I would love for any of you to write down how you got rich for hardly doing anything, got rich fast. I bet you won't find one comment. No one gets rich overnight. And one thing that I will share that is extremely important, if you don't hear anything else today, hear this. It is the same stress to worry about $1,000 problems as $10,000, $100,000, million, 10 million, 100 million. It is the same worry. It is the same stress, the same effort, except when you're focusing on $100,000 shifts, you have a lot of competition. When you raise the bar, when you raise your standards, when you say, I'm going for something other people don't, you have zero competition, because most people are trained to think small. We go to school and we're taught to think small. We go to school, we have family and friends that want to protect us and say, that's for other people, not for you. You have too much competition thinking small. You have none at the top.
How can somebody become a millionaire in 2024?
Number 1 and foremost, love what you do. Love your product, love your service, or don't sell it. Number 2, understand marketing better than anybody else. And number 3, understand leadership. Nothing will stop you. Skip all the delegation parts. Skip all that. Go right to leadership and understand the human condition and how to hire the right people who get on board.
So I agree that the level of stress to deal with $1,000 issues, 10,000, 100,000, million is the same. I would probably go one step further. I actually feel like the stress is lower the higher the number, because you get better. If I think back to my first 1 or 2 years in business, the smallest issue would derail me mentally, right? It would take me out. Like, oh man, this is like a massive issue. Fast forward to today, my 23rd year in business, like it takes a much bigger issue to derail me today and to get me off guard. That is because we get better. We get physically match fit when it comes to building a business. So I would say that actually, it gets easier the bigger numbers you start to take on, because on the journey of handling it and building confidence and knowing who you are and learning a repertoire of skills, that you can actually do those a little bit easier over time. With the question of how would you be a millionaire in 2024, here's what I would say to you. Don't worry about leadership. Don't worry about all that stuff. If there is one skill for you to become a millionaire in 2024, it's sales. You need to learn how to close deals, because then you can do them for yourself. You can do them for other people. You can be on commission. You can negotiate really hard. The hardest part of any business, of all the hats, is sales. That's why salespeople should get disproportionately highly paid compared to everybody else in an organization. So the one skill that you can do, and the number one driver for being good at sales is hunger. If you're really hungry, you won't let people off the hook, right? There's other skills, but hunger is number one. If you can learn to be really sharp and really good at building relationships and closing deals, you won't just become a millionaire in 2024. You'll make tens and hundreds of millions.
Do this to attract customers to your shop. Don't joke with this.
Customers like and increase your sales. With this ritual, new paths will open up for you. And
is this the same demon I cast out only a few episodes ago?
Money will flow into your life consistently. Yeah. When after filling up this glass of water, as seen in the picture, get some cinnamon sticks. Make sure they are both touching the glass, and then pour a tablespoon of sea salt into the water. Add little amount of clove. Make sure you're using plastic spoon. After that, you stir it. As you're stirring it, you're making the...
I think the scariest thing about this clip is how is she talking without her mouth moving? I'm scared. This is some sort of occult, witchcraft, demonic expression here. I feel like this legion is trying to come over me just watching this video.
Declarations. Every evil eye, every bad luck, every curses blocking your business, blocking your sales. As you sprinkle this water in front of your shop, they will never have effect on you anymore. Your businesses will start booming. When you're done.
Well, if you run an e-commerce shop, I want to see you do this. I want to see you trickle this water in front of your e-commerce shop and see how it works out, right? So open your laptop and sprinkle the water, and let's see how this works. Justin, I can't do any more of this. I just want to see this beautiful woman receive absolute freedom and truth in her life. And so, Justin, you should actually write back to her and preach to her rather than give me this advice. I love you, Spirituality Solutions, but I'm out.
What do you need to start a business? First, you need a business plan. If you don't have a business plan, then you don't have a business. Second, you need to register your company in order for you to become a proper trading company and to establish bank accounts. Third, you need to know how much capital you need to start the business and how much you will require to operate the business until your business starts generating revenues. Fourth, don't expect to start making a profit on the first year. In my experience, you never have a business that starts making a profit year one. Usually it's from year 2 and year 3.
Well, Karosh, first of all, props for wearing a vest. That has made my day today, that somebody is out there wearing a waistcoat. And you know what? I feel underdressed watching you. So well done. Here's my commitment. On the next Wes Reacts, I'm going to wear a waistcoat too, because I don't want to be the least dressed person in the room. As for your advice, I mean, that video has 864 comments. Let me tell you the business plan that I had when I started. It was short, actually. It was make rent. That was my business plan. It was 2 words. It wasn't a huge plan for people to understand. I didn't share it with that many people because I had a feeling it would be underwhelming, but it was make rent. And in terms of how much capital I needed, like there was no maths of how much capital I needed before I started. I didn't have any capital when I started. The way that I got capital to start and grow my businesses was by starting my businesses, all right? They're all noble ideas. I think they actually hold value once you're in business, because you should work out what your capital gap is between where you are and where you want to be, and what does it cost you to buy customers and hire a team. There's a CapEx requirement to those things, but not to start a business, right? I don't meet many business people who start well-funded. They all start out of a desire to kind of figure it out. So all you actually need to get started is an idea, a ton of hunger, and a customer.
Never say these 3 words in sales. Number 1, never say expensive, instead say premium. Number 2, never say cheap, instead say affordable. People associate cheap with low quality, but if you say affordable, then they think that they're getting a good deal out of it. And number 3, never instead say explore. When you say try, then that implies that you might fail at something, but when you say explore, then that means there's an opportunity for you to grow and learn. Check it out and follow for more marketing tips.
Yeah, I would caution against following for more marketing tips. If your sales strategy is based on those 3 things, you have already lost. I would suggest to you that if that is the best advice you can put out, you should go and join a large company and do nothing in the back corner, because that advice is terrible. So that's a wrap on episode 8 of Wes Reacts. Justin, this is his last day, so if you've enjoyed his video production, you can put in the comments a final farewell for him if you want. It's been great knowing him, but I feel spiritually dirty with the stuff that he puts in front of me, and I just can't have that anymore. So it's been great, Justin. I hope you've enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed doing these, but I want your comments. What is the stuff that is popping for you? And are you getting value out of some of the business tips? I can't wait to be back for episode 9 of Wes Reacts. Until then, love ya.